Hello, everybody, and welcome to T.W.E.T, episode 17. 17, guys. We're on episode 17. That's amazing.
We're gonna do this every episode, aren't we?
Every single episode.
Every
It's
single
crazy.
episode.
So the last episode.
Do you know what? I'm more amazed that it's taken us this long
Yes.
to do 17.
Yes.
We
me
really
too.
need to sort out a schedule or something.
Really do. I was just thinking that because the last one was on the 19th of October, was the last podcast that we did. And it's been a little while. But to be fair, there's been a lot going on. You know, there's been a lot going on in terms of the channel and everything like that. So
the way I see it, we'll get better quality podcasts if we stick to doing them when they're relevant,
yeah,
rather than doing regular podcasts with nothing to say.
very true.
That's true.
Very true. And I definitely think
Quality
there
over
was
quantity.
something that we can do maybe once a month. Anyway, that gives us more than enough time. But you're right, quality needs to be the main frame here for me.
We need to have interesting topics to talk about that people are actually going to want to hear about that they may not have already heard about.
Yes. And I think this will absolutely be perfect for that. This episode.
Yeah.
This episode is going to be jam-packed.
Indeed.
So I'm super looking forward to getting into it. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Game Awards, which was a massive, huge thing. We're also going to be talking about Cyberpunk. It's, well, everything Cyberpunk.
As soon as Cyberpunk comes in, that's going to be the rest of the episode. So we should probably start with a couple of interesting things from the Game Awards.
For sure. That's why we're going to start with the Game Awards today.
Oh, Schnizzle.
For Schnizzle, Jesus. All right. And we're starting off strong.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So come on then, Roost. I'm going to let you lead on this one.
All right then.
For the Game Awards.
We're not going to cover everything the Game Awards had to show because there was quite a lot, some of them bigger than others. For example, there's the horrifying moment that Elden Ring won Most Anticipated Game, and we got sweet fuck all.
I think that's hilarious.
Oh, that makes me so salty. But yeah,
Get wrecked.
We'll move on from that. I'm not mad. You're mad.
No, mad.
But there are a couple of games that I wanted to bring attention to because they're either something that was particularly interesting or things that we've mentioned in the past that we finally had revealed. So first of all, Back for Blood I want to talk about because it's made by the Left 4 Dead devs. It's literally Left 4 Dead 3 but legally. Because obviously the studio that's currently making Back 4 Blood doesn't have the Left 4 Dead rights. Valve do. But the intellectual properties, the intellectual ideas of things aren't owned by Valve. So they've gone down the very sort of borderline clever route of it's got a very similar name, a very similar setup. The zombies in the game are almost identical with minor like changes. For example, yes, they still have the guy with one small arm, one big arm, only instead of looking like a guy who jacked off a lot, he is now a giant. Like, he is huge in general, and it looks a little bit more like the small arm was the only thing that didn't mutate. So instead of looking like some weird scrawny arm, it just looks like a normal arm. But like, you know what that is. You know it's the same zombie, but different and bigger. And basically the boomer variant is like this huge, almost car-sized monstrosity, and he goes boom. So it's like, yeah, they're really pushing the boundaries of what's like. We're not quite encroaching on Valve's property, but we designed these monsters, so fuck you.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I mean, let's fair.
Yeah.
So what you're basically saying is it's Left 4 Dead, but times 100.
Well, as they were saying in their announcement, they were saying they wanted to go bigger, they wanted to go better, and the whole focus of the development was Left 4 Dead, but bigger. Everything you can think of, bigger. So it looks really good. It's made in, I believe, Unreal Engine 4. I might be wrong about that, but I know it's not made on Source. So the gunplay, the graphical look of it, it doesn't have that Source look, which was it took me aback. Took me back a little bit. I was a bit like, it's weird to see such a Left 4 Dead looking game not look like Left 4 Dead. But then the more you look at it, the more you start appreciating, like, okay, this Left 4 Dead could look really cool. Sorry, Back 4 Blood, I should say. We all know most people are going to call it Left 4 Dead 3, which is going to be a bit sketchy if Left 4 Dead 3 comes out.
Well, there'll be Left 4 Dead 3 and then the fake Left 4 Dead 3, one
Left
by
4
Valve.
But yeah, exactly. Like, you'll have Left 4 Dead from Wish, which is the Valve one, unfortunately.
Which is the real license one, unfortunately.
Yeah, but no, I've signed up for the alpha, which starts today, but I haven't got in yet. But it looks interesting. I definitely feel like they stayed true to this idea of going bigger. There seemed like there was a lot more like devastating like destruction by the zombies. There was a lot more like getting into tighter spaces and having giant ass zombies rip the fencing out so that it can chase you. Which it looks really interesting. It's been a while since we've had a good Left 4 Dead style 4-player co-op just shoot the shit out of hundreds of zombies thing.
Do you think it's going to follow the same kind of pattern as that episodic journey that it had, because Left 4 Dead had like 4 separate journeys with different
got
characters?
the impression that it possibly could, but that wasn't necessarily something that was very clearly shown.
Yeah.
But I get the impression, yes, because even the safe rooms.
Yes.
Like, this is what I mean by borderline. The safe rooms looked virtually identical. The doors looked like almost carbon copy rip-offs of rip-off's not really the right term. They owned it. They made it. Like, it's their game. But like, it looks like someone has made Left 4 Dead in Unreal as like a YouTube student project. Like, it looks like Left 4 Dead, simply put. I think it's going to follow all the same tropes. Everything. The design looks the same. The concept looks the same. It is Left 4 Dead, but it's not. It's Back 4 Blood.
I'm just waiting for the memes of the "Can I copy your homework, bro?" memes to come out.
Oh, 100%.
It's gonna happen. We just know it's gonna happen. It's
just change it up a bit so it doesn't look like you copied.
Yeah,
bro,
exactly.
how did you get higher marks than me? That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be the copied homework, but the kid who copied got better marks.
Yeah, straight up. Leechy, what's your take on this? I know that you are a huge Left 4 Dead fan.
I wouldn't say so much Left 4 Dead fan.
Oh, okay, you played it a lot.
Fuck off, you're a Left 4 Dead fan. You played it way too much to not be called a fan. Whether you regret the hours you put into that game is irrelevant. You are a Left 4 Dead fan. Don't try and worm out of this one.
I mean, I really wanted that avatar item, so I did kill 10,000 zombies in 2 days.
You did?
In 2 days?
Yeah, it didn't take me long.
Wow.
I played that game for so many hours.
He hoard the shit out of it, which
I
is why
literally
whether you regret
kept
it or
repeating
not.
the first like campaign or whatever. I
It
just
had
kept
this one
rinsing that over
section
and
with
over.
a huge horde that you could just blitz down for ages. But I think it's going to be an interesting one for our Discord group because there's not a whole lot of games these days that we all sort of get together and play, and most of them are things more like squad. There's not really like, it's like team multiplayer, not like co-op-y games.
Yeah.
I definitely think Back 4 Blood might be an interesting game where we can get quite a few people from the Discord on, and we can have some pretty good Back 4 Blood sessions going. I think it'll be a very interesting co-op game for us. As long as the gunplay feels nice, I fully expect this to be a successful game.
Well,
it all
comes
down to the gunplay, I feel. If the gunplay feels shit, then the game just isn't going to be enjoyable to play. But the look of the hordes of zombies and things like that, as long as the gunplay is good, I feel like it could be successful.
Yeah. We just got to wait and see on that front and see what comes out of it, really, because it seems like you said, they're using similar design techniques, let's call them that. So they've got the kind of the base game and what they want out of it, and that's a really great step. So hopefully it's just a more of an Unreal Engine refinement on the game itself, with better improved graphics, maybe a better story. I know there was a very kind of loose story of how the 4 people kind of got together and how they interact and so on. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure what that kind of has to offer. But let's move on to something else from the Game Awards. Anything else that you guys kind of want to talk about or anything like that?
There's another one I just want to briefly sort of skate over, because it may not necessarily be something that everyone's sort of interested in, but there was something in the trailer that piqued my interest about it. So we got teased a new Dragon Age game a while back, I believe, at like the replacement for E3 event that Jeff Keighley did, the Summer Games Festival or whatever it was. And then at the Game Awards, we got the actual like Dragon Age 4 sort of teaser, the announcement trailer almost. But there was a specific aspect of it that interested me, because in the previous 3 games, your character, although customizable, has always been this like predefined hero. In the first game, you become the Grey Warden. The Grey Wardens all basically get wiped out, and you are the legendary Grey Warden throughout the rest of the game. Basically, everybody just knows you as the Grey Warden. So you're a predefined hero. In Dragon Age 2, you play as Hawk. You can't even change the last name of that character. Yeah, you can customize them and make them however you want, but you are playing the story of Hawk. 3, I believe Revak pointed out to me earlier that you play as the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Again, customizable character, but you are a predetermined character, just like in Skyrim, where you are the Dragonborn. There's a special thing about your character. Now, the Dragon Age 4 trailer kept emphasizing and reiterating, like, be yourself, be your own character, create your own character. There was a lot of emphasis, I felt, in the wording that was heavily implying that this may be the first Dragon Age game where you're not someone special, you're not someone predefined. You are, just like in, say, Oblivion, a regular dude. You're a nobody. You're a standard adventurer who gets thrust into the events of the game and becomes someone important. You're not by default someone important. In Oblivion, you are nobody. He says he's seen you in his dreams, but you're nobody. You get given the Amulet of Kings. You become the hero of Kvatch because you happened to be going there to look for Martin and it was under siege. You saved the day that day. Incidentally, if you don't follow the main storyline in Oblivion, you continue to be nobody. If you never go and save Kvatch, no one will ever call you the hero of Kvatch. If you save Kvatch, suddenly people start going, hey, I know you, you're the hero of Kvatch. Whereas Skyrim, you will always be the Dragonborn. There's not really a way to not be the Dragonborn. And it feels like that Dragon Age 4 might be going for that idea, that you'll be creating this almost nobody character with whatever kind of backstory you want to give them. And you just happen to be stumbling through the events of the game and becoming a hero, which I think it's an interesting take, because it's the first time for basically any BioWare game. If you think about both Dragon Age and Mass Effect, their 2 biggest things, you've always been someone predefined. You've been able to customize what Shepard looks like, but you've always been Shepard. Even in Andromeda, you are Ryder. You're someone special, which isn't the best for RPGs. People tend not to have RPGs where it's all predefined. So I think it could go interesting to see Dragon Age, see a BioWare game where they've really, it seems like they might be going more for player agency and, be whoever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be probably a really good way to go about it. I think that's something that a lot of people did also enjoy about the likes of Oblivion. As you said, there's another reason why people enjoy games like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's something where you can create your own character and, you can build your own backstory to that character and really kind of focus in for that character and backstory and stuff like that, and character development and character creation and all of that good stuff is a point that I definitely want to talk about later, but that's going to be when we get to the main event, because I've got some things to say about it for sure. But we'll get there when we get there. But no, I completely agree with you. If they manage to pull it off, it'll be interesting. And I do want to have a point where you create your character, you predefine your own character's backstory and how they got to where they are at this current stage. And I don't think enough games do it, and I think they don't do it because it's very hard to tailor a story around anybody. It's much easier to tailor a story to a somebody.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And, Dragon Age isn't one of my favourite games ever, but they make some fantastic games. They're brilliant in how they create the Dragon Age series, and we'll have to just wait and see what happens and what comes off the back of it, because as we know, BioWare is
let's hope, let's pray for some BioWare glory days. We've got Dragon Age 4, which we're hoping can be good, and we'll get on to the interesting Mass Effect news soon as well. But there's quite a bit to talk about with that one, so we'll move on and come back to that in a moment. Because another thing I wanted to draw people's attention to, which was interesting, was Crimson Desert. Now, Crimson Desert is one of the very few games coming out of, I believe, South Korea. So South Korea has very recently been delving into the game development scene. They've never really played a big role in game development, but there's a couple of projects this year that we've seen coming out of South Korea. And in particular, dear God, they seem to be doing things with graphics that no one has ever done before. There's an RPG that I think I've seen development of, which just looks ridiculous. And then Crimson Desert is a open world MMO kind of game. And again, it looks unbelievably phenomenally good, like graphically, and just the world looks like something incredibly special. And I think we're going to see some interesting games out of, just simply put, Korean efficiency. I'm sure people have heard the term Korean efficiency in the past. Like, they are very, very efficient in their business model in South Korea. So to see some game development studios sprouting up in a culture with such an efficient business model, we could see some interesting things coming out of South Korea soon, I think.
Be
Crimson
exciting.
Desert being one of them.
Really exciting, because when you look at these kind of advancements in technology, it's just full stop. Whether or not that's an advancement of graphical technology or anything along those lines, it paves the way for other people to move. And
yes,
the whole point of trying to better each other actually improves the industry. And we're all big fans of the industry here, and especially on this podcast. I mean, we've all said that the advancement of technology will always be great for the industry, because it lets people open more doors and think of new ways to create new things and try new things, which I think this year maybe not so much. There are some games this year that have come out that have tried new things, whether or not they've been successful or not. But overall, trying these new things is the only way to advance that technology. And if South Korea is going to pave the way for better graphical advancement and even down to better storytelling and just a better game full stop, then that's going to make the big hitters like, your EAs, your all of those massive game studios sit there and just go, fuck, we need to be doing this, and going on from there. So I'm excited to see what happens and what comes out of South Korea. I really am.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk about, just because there's a really interesting connection, I suppose, which I don't personally understand. So the Callisto Protocol looks like a very interesting sort of Dead Space spiritual successor kind of game by the developers of Dead Space. It looked like it's very much like its own kind of thing, but there was a hint of Dead Space to it, and it's made by the developers. It looks like a really interesting game, but for some incredibly unknown reason, it's based in the PUBG universe centuries later.
What?
No idea why. No one's really certain why, but it takes place a couple of centuries after the events of PUBG. But yeah, it's based in the PUBG universe for some reason.
Literally, that was my exact reaction as well. When, like, before you joined the call, me and Roos were talking about it, and I was just sat there going, "Why? Like, why? Why?" Like, there's nothing there. There's no law, like, no proper law there. What? Why?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Sit there in prison and talk about their ancestors who got dropped onto an island and had to parachute out of a massive plane? Great. I just don't know. It's an interesting one, and how they try to kind of weave that in, I guess, to this universe. But yeah, when you told me that, I just had like, what? Why?
I know. It just feels like it really, really doesn't need this
No.
PUBG connection. I feel like there's gonna be like some kind of story connection, but it just feels like the story connection is gonna be there because it takes place in the PUBG universe, not it takes place in the PUBG universe because of the story connection.
I just don't understand, and it might just be me being really ignorant. I have no idea, but there's no story from PUBG that I know of. There's no lore. There's no.
I believe there is some lore to PUBG, but
maybe
it's
like
not exactly the focus
negligible.
of the
No,
game.
it's not. It's negligible at best. And
PUBG is not a story-driven game. Like, there is lore behind it, but it's not the focus. And don't get me wrong, I believe the development team behind the Callisto Protocol has ties to the PUBG development team. I think it might be some kind of subsidiary,
Yeah.
but it still just kind of feels like
It's just
based in
strange.
the universe for the sake of being based in the universe.
Yeah, it's like saying something like I don't know. I'm just going to use this as an example. Like, oh yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 was based off of the DayZ universe, right? What?
Yeah. Like what? Why?
Why?
Oh well, just
That's not true,
because
guys. That's not true. Like, it's completely based off of a tabletop, and I've read some of the background lore, and it's actually Cyberpunk 2077 lore is really interesting. But that's the kind of example that it is. It's there's just no. I can't see any tangible point in sitting here and saying it's based on the PUBG universe.
It's like the people that genuinely try to come up with theories as to how the Dragon Age games are based on a planet that exists in the Mass Effect universe, but like thousands of years beforehand. And it's not Earth, like it's on its own planet, but it's all in the. It's like, why? Like, yeah, they're made by the same guys, but you don't need to tie their universes. It's okay for games to have separate universes. Yes, games with universe tie-ins, for example, Doom and Wolfenstein, and the whole connection between Doom Guy and BJ Blazkowicz and all things like that. Like, yeah, they're kind of cool, and they're like, when you delve into that lore and you're like, oh, that's really interesting, that's kind of cool, I like that. But that's been done tactfully well, and it kind of fits, and it's kind of cool. Not every game series that has some kind of connection needs to be based in this one universe and like tie these things in. We'll have to see. It looks like a good game. It looks like an interesting game. I just don't understand the choice.
Did you hear about the theory of Doom was in the universe of Zelda, the Legend of Zelda games?
What?
Did you ever hear that? That was
No, I've not heard that.
That was a brilliant one. So they were saying that Doom Guy is essentially Link.
Oh my god!
And
he's BJ Blazkowicz's fucking ancestor. No, the other way around. BJ Blazkowicz is
his
Doom Guy's ancestor.
Yeah,
like.
but he was essentially like a Link. That's yeah, because he wears the green armor and he's like a super soldier. And it was
wears green armor.
There's a lot more to it, and it was really interesting. But I was reading it, and it was so funny.
Spoiler alert: Master Chief is Link.
Yeah. Master Chief actually says something. Link never talks. But yeah, I remember reading it ages ago, and that was a lot of fun reading that. That's a good fun article if you manage to find it.
Theories of tie-ins and actual tie-ins for the sake of it.
Yeah. Sometimes they're really forced,
funny.
and you're just like,
yeah.
And this is what it feels like. It feels like a fan theory
Yeah,
thing.
like you hear about game universes being tied in, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But this one, everyone's reaction is, but why?
Yeah, why? Please,
But why?
why? Why?
Why?
Oh,
So, moving on to something that's a little less but why and a lot more holy shit, that's cool. I've previously mentioned The Initiative, the studio that was founded, the brand new studio that was founded by Microsoft, like Xbox Game Studios, and was being dubbed the first Quad A studio just because of how much has been poured into this big secret mystery project that they've been working on. And at the Game Awards, we finally found out what that mystery project was. And it turns out the rumors were correct. They are indeed rebooting Perfect Dark. And it looks fucking amazing.
the trailer. I mean, the trailer itself was cinematic. I only watched it about half an hour ago
Yeah,
now.
it is a cinematic trailer,
Completely
so
cinematic.
obviously,
But it's an interesting take that they're going to go with it, and I'm interested to see how they do it. But I'm skeptical because it's only a cinematic trailer at this stage. I need to see
yeah,
tangible gameplay.
we need to see gameplay.
Yeah,
But there's been a surprising amount of interest and hype around the game, even when we knew nothing about it. So to find out that it is this pretty damn big IP, like, yeah, Perfect Dark hasn't seen loads and loads of games, but it's been like 15 years since we had a game, and they're pretty highly regarded.
yeah,
Like, they weren't flops by any means. Like, they were pretty highly regarded games. So to see this, so reboot is an odd term because I believe it's technically a continuation. It seems to be taking place after the events of the previous Perfect Dark game. So it's more of a like a reboot in the sense of they're starting it up again,
yeah,
not starting from scratch. So I believe the events of the previous games will have happened in the new game. Um, but it's being dubbed an eco sci-fi because unlike something like Cyberpunk, which we will get to, being all, this sort of neon, very punky, futuristic, and then quite a common futuristic take is very high tech, very sort of robot-y sci-fi and or apocalyptic sci-fi. This is very much on the side of corporations making a better world, like a utopia, a very lush green lands, and like when you think of sort of almost like mini forests on top of skyscrapers and things like that. So it's setting up this idea of interesting topics on global warming and how, because there's in the universe there's been a lot of flooding, a lot of fires, a lot of storms that has ravaged the world, but you're not living in a ravaged world. You're living in this world that these corporations have managed to salvage and turn into this big utopia, like beautiful place to live. But there's something that there seems like the story of the game is going to be based around. There's something a bit dark. There's some kind of cost to these utopias the corporations are sort of building. And then there's the tie-in of the original Perfect Darks had very heavy alien influence.
yeah.
Now we didn't see any of that in this cinematic trailer, but you can bet your ass that there's going to be a lot of alien return. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on from what we know, particularly about the studio, the initiative, and this. It's not a brand new IP. It's a predefined IP that people were quite excited to have a reboot about. It's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for.
Well, I mean, we've been excited about the initiative for a little while. We've had a podcast almost dedicated on the initiative and speculation on it. So I mean, you know that we're going to be covering the initiative quite a lot, and
Yes.
maybe it's an extra thing that you and I can collaborate on a separate video and have a look and a deeper dive into the initiative itself and what the initiative have said, and more speculation. So that could be something for the future for you guys,
Yep.
definitely. Um, And then I think there was one more thing from the Game Awards that you wanted to discuss.
The last thing is the Mass Effect teaser we got.
Yeah.
So, as we found out recently, we are getting a remaster of the original trilogy. We're getting a remaster of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, which is fantastic because I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect, and I know for a fact Leachy is as well. um, but there was a lot of speculation because there was a lot of rumors, and they almost all but confirmed it in an art book with these new artworks that there was going to be a new Mass Effect. Now, people weren't sure if this was going to be basically Andromeda 2 or not. But from the teaser trailer we got, it's looking a hell of a lot more like it might be Mass Effect 4 because the trailer gives off this very sort of post-destruction
Yeah.
feeling to it, like the downfall of the Reapers and the end of Mass Effect 3, and what appears to be Liara
I
appears
would
to
say, yeah,
be.
it's Liara.
It looks a lot of people are basically set on it is Liara, which immediately rules out an Andromeda sequel
Yeah.
because if Liara is in the trailer, then it has to be taking place just after the events of Mass Effect 3
Yeah.
because
It's
it
got to be our galaxy.
and she picks up out of the snow near what looks like a destroyed Reaper a piece of N7 armor. She wipes the snow away from it, and the scene looks very like search and rescue-y. So story could be that they're searching for Shepard, whether they're searching for his remains to see if he survived, or they go for a Mass Effect 2 style bring him back. Some of the theories are that you may not necessarily play as Shepard, but Shepard may be pivotal to the story. So the story may be more focused around you being someone else and part of this team trying to recover Shepard's body or something like that. These are just speculations. It was a very short cinematic trailer, but there was definitely some hints and nods to it, which was interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I wonder, because of course I know you're going to talk about the ending, but the speculation of the ending is another thing. They're most probably going to have to go off of one of the endings from the third game, and it
Yeah,
sounds like from what we see from the trailer, the canonical ending was where you just destroy them because you got the three options. There was the option to make them peaceful, the option to destroy them, the option to merge synthetic and organic life together, and then the fourth option, which is shoot the kid and nothing happens. The cycle just continues. So it
oh, yeah,
looks like the destruction from what we saw there
yeah.
could
It
very
seems
well
like
be
they
the
might
canonical
focus
ending.
that. So, because the thing is as well is the artworks showed mass relays being built,
Yeah.
but these mass relays had a very human-like design to them. So that kind of implies that the story, or at least what is happening throughout the time period of this next game, is a kind of a recover and rebuild kind of thing. And it looks like humans might potentially be at the forefront of it, which is kind of an interesting thing considering in the previous games, humans have always sort of felt like they're being held back. It took ages for a human to actually be put on the council, obviously being Shepard, and there's a lot, particularly in the first game, there's a lot of this feeling of humanity isn't being given because they're like the babies of
Well,
the
I think the entire story was revolved around the fact that humanity moved very very quickly, and um, it kind of scared the other council
yeah,
member
we were
races
like
quite a
these
lot.
babies that came out of nowhere
Yeah, and then
and
just
moved
where
very quickly.
we just raced to the top very very quickly, and it kind of terrified them. That's why we didn't. There wasn't a human Spectre until Shepard, the first human Spectre, actually came about because
Yes,
human races were not allowed that level of
authority, I suppose.
authority, yeah, within the council itself and within the
And
galaxy.
so it would be very interesting if, after the events of the first three games, and almost like humanity, particularly with the story of Shepard proving themselves, and really sort of pulling to the forefront, it'd be very interesting to see if Mass Effect 4's story could heavily revolve around humanity playing a very key role in this rebuild,
Yeah,
recover sort of concept. Because, like I said, we saw these mass relays, and all I could think of when I was looking at these relays was like, they look human.
Yeah.
They look like humans making mass relays, which is rather interesting.
And I think that was it from Game Awards. Really, there's a lot of interesting
Yeah.
stuff going on across the Game Awards, and it's going to be exciting coming up for the next couple of years. To the next 5 years or so, I think we're in for some really, really good treats from the gaming world, with the initiative, with Bethesda, with BioWare and their games and so on. So we'll
Yeah, could be
keep
good
an eye
after the
on it.
shit show of 2020. We may start
Yes.
having some
Let's
good
have
years coming.
Reconnaissance, a renaissance of video games, please.
Woo!
Please, God. Right, before we move on to the main event, there's some things that I just wanted to quickly mention and go through before anything along these lines. And they're all to do with video games that are still in development and my favourite ones that I don't mention, all the time on these podcasts, I promise. But actually, I'm going to start with one that I haven't mentioned for a little while, and that is Dead Matter. So, Dead Matter, they
update recently, didn't it?
They sent out a blog post which will hopefully follow an update soon, but there's a lot that's going on within their studio. So of course, the whole Rona situation has fucked them over massively, but they've managed to acquire themselves an actual office space where they're going to be able to go and actually collaborate together properly, and the productivity line is just going to be so much bigger. And they're in certain rural areas of Canada where these areas are actually based. It's areas that the game are actually based on. So from a artist perspective, they're going to be able to get better shots of the real world and be able to actually create the Dead Matter world based on real life Canada and locations within real life Canada. So the fact that they've got all of that going on is brilliant, and it is only going to do great things for the game. There's also been a major overhaul of the zombie movement and stuff like that. They become a lot more deadly, because what was happening was, and DayZ was played with this for a little while, a zombie will chase you.
to attack you.
Yeah, and they stand still to attack. Now they lunge, and they continue sprinting at you, and they run at you, and they're much more of a threat. And right now, if you go onto their website or watch the blog, God, I can't talk. The blog post. The actual gameplay is there, and you see the zombie kind of just relentlessly chasing, and they've also managed to change the spawn of zombies, and they've got it in a big grid system and all of that. The thing that, and the main reason that I'm mentioning this, is that they said themselves that they haven't been focusing on patches because they've been trying to fix a lot of issues in the game before they can release the next patch, and a lot of issues that the people that are playing it are having. And there's going to be a massive update in January, followed by a massive update in February. Don't know when, but that's what they've said on their post. And I don't think we'll get all of that information. But if you guys are interested in how the game's progressing or anything like that, or more information across those blog posts, Mr. Atomic Duck is a fantastic source. He has been given exclusive rights to cover blog posts for Dead Matter. So if you just want the TLDR of it all, then go and watch some of his videos. And yeah, that's where that great source of information is coming from. Moving on to my favourite game to talk about ever, Star Citizen! Yay!
Oh, here we go.
Star Citizen, never heard of it before.
Star Citizen! So, the next patch is days away now. It's literally days away. There are some fantastic things coming in, like the tractor beam. It's like a handheld tractor beam. I can't wait for that. That's going to be so much fun.
It's going to do the big suck.
It's going to do the big suck. Yeah. So instead of having to go up to stuff and just pick it up with your hands, you can now use the tractor beam to pick it up. And also, if you're using the tractor beam,
with the world is so poor.
Say that again.
Is that because interacting with the world is so poor?
No, because it's the future, and you would expect to have a tractor beam.
The future is now, old man.
You're now blood.
No, you.
What you can also do is in zero gravity, you can use the tractor beam attachment to actually pull yourself to something, so you can travel faster in zero G.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's gonna be fucking awesome. There's a video.
You could have used that when he got thrown out of the ship by Leech.
Yeah, he could. So that's going to be really fun. And that there was an Inside Star Citizen that actually showed that mechanic being used, where this guy was going around a space station that was in 0G, and he was just zipping around it, and he was calling it the Spider-Man tool and stuff, and that was really cool. So it's going to be interesting, kind of what they do. There's some big changes that are going to be happening as well in terms of the gameplay at this stage. So when you claim a ship with an insurance, the time for a lot of ships is drastically increasing, and the cost is also drastically increasing. This is to combat people going, well, the cost for it is 2,000 AUEC to, just get the ship back quickly, but my refuel and repair cost is 3,000, so I'm just going to self-destruct and wait for 5 minutes. Now you've got ships like the 890 Jump is probably the best example of this. That was set at, I think, 55 minutes, and then
What?
That's just like you leave it. If you expedited it, it would take like 15, 20 minutes, I think was what it was. I'm not sure. You can't quote me on that. That is. And the cost was like 5,000 AUEC. Now, the ship is probably going to take about 2.5 hours and cost 40,000 to expedite. That, I know 40,000 is the correct amount, but I don't know the times exactly. And I think it's about an hour for it to come back after you've expedited. So, I mean, these are the biggest ships. The good thing is that the starter ships have actually reduced in time and reduced in cost. So it gets people with starter ships out and flying faster, but it's stopping people with larger ships just saying, I'm just going to self-destruct because it costs me nothing. There's like next to no consequence. And that's what they're bringing into it, is further consequences. The problem with this, and what a lot of the community is saying at this stage, is that's brilliant. That's something that the game definitely needs. Not now, whilst there's 101 different issues. 30k means that your ship is gone, and then that's it, you're fucked. So if you're doing like mining runs, or you're doing trading runs, or anything along those lines, you're going to get punished for the server crashing. And that's a problem, because the server crashes happen too much. And that's what a lot of the community are saying.
They were going to need to fix stability if they're going to go down that road.
And that's the thing. They're starting to go down that road now. And it might just be a case of we do it. People are unhappy for 2 weeks. Everyone kind of doesn't care from that point on. But that's the kind of consensus at the moment. The good thing is, as well, pushing that to one side, this update's going to be huge. They're adding clouds, so space clouds. Can't wait for some space clouds. They're going to be really awesome, and it really gives an awesome lighting effect when you're coming up to certain space stations and so on. So I'm looking forward to that. And refineries. So the minerals that you mine, you can now go to a refinery deck, select a job, refine the materials. That will then refine over time. Then you can go back, collect it, and sell that for more profit. So it's adding an extra gameplay loop onto the mining aspect of the game, and kind of mixing both mining and trading together, which is really, really, really great. So there's so many exciting things happening on that front, and it's super exciting to kind of get involved in that and be able to play it. I'm excited. I can't wait.
You are the excitement.
I am completely the excitement. And then I don't think there's any other games really that I'm playing at the moment that have anything huge happening. Squad is coming into 2.0 very soon, which is going to be updating the British Armed Forces, which is fantastic.
That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be really good. They're also updating, I think it's the Middle Eastern Alliance. No, it's not. It's the Insurgents Forces. Insurgents are going to be OP. They're going to be like OP. They're looking forward to that one. And that's still in kind of the persistent testing section anyway, so that's still probably a couple of weeks after Christmas off. And that was it. They're all kind of the smaller updates that I wanted to get to you before we got into the big cheese.
Yeah, the meat.
The meat. And
to veg.
The meat, of course, is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I know that we've all played it. Leech, I know that you've only had a couple of hours in, but you've still had more than enough experience to be able to, discuss your your experience with it. I know we've got Adam in
Yeah.
chat as well, who has thrown in probably 70, 75 hours into the game already since release. So fair play. I tip my hat to you, Adam. That's a crazy amount of hours. So, and you've done all of that on PlayStation 5, I believe. So you've had console experience as well. But the reception of Cyberpunk 2077 was not very positive.
It's a mixed can of worms.
Yeah, it's not. Well, we're definitely going to get into this for sure, but I just want to talk about the review bombings of it. I mean, 72 hours now. There you go. Adam's just popped in there. But yeah, the game got heavily review bombed, like just straight up, just absolutely carpet bombed from reviewers, and I think I'm on the fence with this because I think it does warrant some of the like bad publicity that it's had, but at the same time it doesn't warrant all of it in any way, shape or form. And I think some people have been really over exaggerating a lot of problems with it. And I think the best takeaway from this section of this podcast is for fuck's sake, don't sit there, complain, threaten to kill devs and stuff like that for a game not being released, and then when it's released and it's not quite finished or it's buggy, then have a go at them for that. There was huge amounts of pressure from the community, and there was huge amounts of pressure from their board of like directors and people who bought into it and investors and everything like that. There was massive amounts of pressure for them to push the game out in its current state, and that's why we understand massively why they delayed it so many times. Could you imagine if they released this back in April?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Like, don't get me wrong, the game has got bugs, it's got issues and all of that stuff, but there is no way that detracts from a fantastic way of telling a story, a completely stunning visual party. It's brilliant. It looks amazing, and just what they've done with characters in the game and your character yourself, V, is absolutely revolutionary. It's fucking fantastic in every way, shape, or form. The only issue with it are bugs and visual glitches. That's it. And the fact that people are getting really angry at it is just mind-boggling. Why? People wanted a fantastic like experience in a futuristic world where your choices do actually matter, because I mean they do, and you'll only ever experience that properly when you play it more than once. But people have been sat there crying, was like, well, I felt like my decisions didn't make a difference. Well, yeah, that's because you're halfway through your first character, you muppet. Like, this game has got so many different ways of playing it. I mean, just when you talk to friends, Nikki had a completely different experience to a mission that me and Rooster had a similar experience to a mission for, to, you know, eventually in the next act get the best weapon ever, but we're not going to leave any spoilers. But all of that changed just because of a different dialogue option and the way that dialogue progressed in one scene.
The whole quest turned out
changed.
Completely different because of one choice we made.
And that happens quite a lot through the game. There's so many different things, so many different choices that you can make that will make the game itself kind of play out and how people across the story perceive you. But people are going in hard on it, I think, just to get attention, because that's it. And yeah, it is a mess, and yes, it crashes, and yes, there are bugs, but do you know what? They're going to get fixed, and that is not a problem. But you cannot sit there, complain that it's being delayed, threaten that you're going to kill the dev, because that's disgusting.
Someone threatened to burn his house with him and his family in it. And
then sit there and cry, bitch, and moan because the game is unfinished. Like it.
Imagine literally messaging a dev, not like the head of the team, a random developer saying, "I know where you live. Release the game now. I'm going to burn you and your family."
Yeah.
And then bitching because the game was released buggy.
I mean, it's just not right, and it is absolutely disgusting. And you know, people are sitting there saying, "Oh, well, they could have sent it out in early access. They could have done this. They could have done that. They could have done this and that and that and this and this and that. And it's just piss off. Like, I think we're now at a point in game development where we are trying so many different things, and we're moving with a really fast kind of moving feast of technology and advancements that not only is it difficult to try and, you know, continue staying with this moving feast, but you've got to have equipment, and the consumer has to have equipment that follows suit, and it's not cheap. It's very, very expensive. If you've got a top end PC, and I'm talking like the tippity top of specs, you've probably been absolutely fine with your PC experience of Cyberpunk. My PC it's a half decent PC. You know, I've had a fantastic experience with it. Yeah, I've experienced crashes, and when I stream it, yeah, there are issues, and that's because I'm using more resources. But going back to like the Xbox, the original Xbox and the original PlayStation 4, and people are really pissed off and unhappy about that. Like, yeah, I kind of get it because it was marketed for that, but you got to remember that technology has advanced so far ahead of the original Xbox and the original PlayStation 4 that really you just need to take that kind of into consideration, that as the industry moves forward and technology advances faster within the gaming world, games are going to become more complicated. They're going to take longer to make, and if they don't take longer to make, they're going to come out like complete fucking messes, and or just derivative bullshit. I'm talking about you, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But anyway, before I start, you know, really shaking a stick at stuff, for me, this game, in its current state, I would sit here and happily give it a 7 or 8 out of 10 because it's been so damn enjoyable. Cyberpunk 2077 is a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And give it 6 months, and I'm pretty sure it'll be sitting there at 10 out of 10.
The funny thing is how many people keep comparing it to The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And I would like to offer everybody who wants to do that to go ahead and look at Witcher 3's release. Because you know what Google was full of when with Witcher 3 released? What the fuck is this buggy piece of mess?
Yep.
What have we had? This game is trash. Oh my god, nothing like what they promised. This game is riddled with bugs. This game is literally unplayable. Now, it is regarded as one of the best RPGs ever made.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying it's acceptable to release a buggy piece of shit. Like, really, like, there's always going to be bugs, but granted, the state of the game on consoles is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like, it really should be better. But people are basically writing off CD Projekt Red like they can never fix the game and saying, oh my god, they've taken such a backstep from The Witcher 3, completely acting like The Witcher 3 released perfectly. And it didn't. The Witcher 3 was full of bugs. The Witcher 3 had like really, really bad bugs on its release that were patched. So if they could do it with The Witcher 3, they can do it with Cyberpunk.
Oh, easily. And I think the best way that they should have gone about it, in my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes, is go down the early access route for sure. Because you know, I'm getting more and more like early access is becoming the new norm, and it's kind of like this unspoken safety net, because a lot of development teams are using it to do the bug testing. And that's the thing that early access gives you access to do. It tells people, look, the game's not finished. It's not in the state that we want. But we're letting you guys have it so that you can test it, and then we can make it better when it properly releases and stuff. And stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 has done a fantastic job of that. Here's a third of the game, but you're going to get 40 hours out of it. It's going to be buggy. And, you know, we're going to continue adding content to it. And over the next year, it's going to look even better and better, and it's going to be incredible, and this is what we're going to do, and you'll join us along that journey. And, you know, it scratches the itch to the people that want to play it at that exact time. And it has the net of early access over it to say,
yeah, it gives
finished.
people who don't enjoy a game in that state the option to just hold out and wait.
Yes.
Whereas releasing a game at full release implies the game is done.
Yeah.
My main issue, like, I'm all for early access. I don't like early access being used as a scapegoat. I don't like people releasing absolutely trash with the excuse, yeah, but it's early access, so whatever. Like, early access needs to be done right. Otherwise, it shouldn't be done. But likewise, people shouldn't be releasing what is basically early access and calling it a full release, and then basically being like, yeah, it's fine, we'll fix it with patches later. It's like, then your game is early access.
Yeah.
You're just not calling it that. If you're releasing a game you have every intention of fixing, your game is early access.
And that's definitely the route that they should have taken. And I
Yes,
agree with you.
Cyberpunk is an early access game that has not got the early access tag.
Yeah,
basically.
pretty much. And you know, and they said that the multiplayer element of it is going to be months down the line as well. I mean,
yeah, multiplayer is coming next year, and it's a completely standalone project.
Yeah, so coupling it by saying it would be early access now until multiplayer would be a really good way of doing that.
But they dumb and they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't do that, unfortunately. And you know, in its current state, it's brilliant. It really is a great game. But having an early access tag there would have been a much better thing to do, because it allows the community to then start reporting issues, crashes, bugs, and they can start fixing that early. And I think more and more games should go down that route.
Yeah, a reported bug will get fixed.
Yes.
A cried about bug won't.
No. And
like, if you're not going to report a bug to CD Projekt Red, but then you're going to cry on YouTube about it, and they've got to fix it because they've seen your cry on YouTube video with 200 views. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. you need to make it more like, you need to report the bug, not cry on YouTube to your 35 subscribers about how much of a buggy mess it is.
I feel like this
and
is a
then
personal
keep
dig
crying.
at me.
Oh no, because you haven't cried about it. And I've only got 34 subscribers, so shut up. But like, yeah, it's just,
it's
the
ridiculous.
only people that can go to YouTube and still draw attention to the developers are the big YouTubers.
Yeah. That's
but
it.
Yeah, like there are bugs, and I'm not excusing the bugs. I've personally, touch wood, had an incredibly lucky and good experience. I've had virtually no issues. My game crashed once when I was loading it and I walked away. And I mean, that was the only crash I've had at all. I've had some visual bugs, like Jackie eating some noodles, and he has a set of noodles in his hand that are going up and down to his mouth, but also a stationary set of not noodles, chopsticks that have just like stayed there frozen. I'm pretty sure that was a common one, but like, I've had a few things like that. I walked into a club and there was this woman standing at a balcony, looking like sort of looking over the dance floor, and she was T-posing, clearly asserting her dominance over the whole club. And I think she did it because I walked in and I was like, I ain't fucking with you. But like, that's all I've had. So obviously, my views on the game are very untainted. Like, yeah, my frame rates haven't been great. I don't like to have to play below 60, but I'm commonly hitting 50 to 55 FPS. If I go into a building, it tends to go up to over 60, but out in the open world, it's like 50 FPS, which isn't ideal, but it's playable. I'm not going to write the game off completely because I'm getting 50 FPS. But I do know some people have had virtually an unplayable experience.
Yeah, there are people out there, and it is primarily the old gen consoles. People with like One X's and PS4
I just
Pros.
want to say one thing to you, console cucks. PC has had bad ports of console games for years.
Yeah, exactly.
You got one bad port of a PC game.
Get off your high horse.
Fuck you, console cucks.
But
it's like the first time a game has released on PC good and console bad. Yeah. Fuck you. Deal with it for once.
It's about time.
It's about time.
And how about when a game finally gets released 2 years onto the consoles after it's been on PC for 2 years? Don't even at me.
Yeah,
I'm not having it.
we've dealt with this market tailoring to consoles for too long.
Viva la revolution.
Precisely.
But no, seriously though, guys, like I don't think it warrants the hate that it's had. It's buggy, and
It
there are
warrants
issues.
attention,
It warrants
but-
attention, but the fact that the game is to a point where the story is absolutely fantastic, the storytelling elements are out of this world, and the gameplay is fun, intuitive, mind blowing, and you can just switch it up and change it up however you see fit. It's up there as one of the better role-playing games for sure. I do have some personal story issues with it, which I'm going to explain quickly now as we've hit the hour mark. I was super excited about the backgrounds, and there are 3 main backgrounds. There's the Nomad, there's the Street Kid, and then there's the Corpo, and I was so excited because they released the first sort of 17 minutes of each of them. Like this was back in, I think, March or something. It was a while ago. So I was getting really excited that it was going to be like the first actual 17 minutes, and then you go in and that kind of end section was like a trailer, and you get to meet, like, you know, all the characters with Jackie, and you're wandering around with Jackie. And I was very upset when that, what I thought was going to be a trailer, played in the game. I was not happy because I felt like they had this huge sort of push on backgrounds.
It felt like they built up these backstories, these backgrounds, and they showed us what we thought was some of the backstories when they showed us these things. And then it turned out that no, the 3 backstory gameplay things they did was the entire backstories.
Yeah,
it felt like there could have been more to the backgrounds.
There should have been, in my opinion. And there's been a lot of people out there saying that it seems as if the Street Kids background was the canonical background for the game, purely because of the way that V interacts with people post the backstory sort of gameplay.
Yeah.
And and I know this would be very difficult to do because you're talking about doing the whole game based on those 3 backgrounds. But like Corpo V is supposed to be somebody who is a really corporate person, and they've been in that kind of corporate world for such a long time. 6 months would not change you that much. No matter how much you're doing,
you don't feel corporate anymore.
No, and you just feel like a completely, like, your background mattered in no way, shape, or form, and I completely get that.
Yeah,
and
I think they dropped the ball. I think they dropped the ball on the backstories thing. When you get past that and you get into the main story of the game, and the ball gets rolling, it is a fantastic story, but it really feels like they could have gone bigger. They could have gone better with the backstories, and they really hyped them up a bit more than they were.
Yeah, for sure. And so I was definitely disappointed in that front. But despite that, once I got over it, because my first playthrough, I was like, I'm getting really salty. I don't know. My Nomad is not really a no. When I played it the second time through and just didn't really care about it all that much, I'm having a much better experience than what I did.
Yeah, it's like it's a complaint, but it's such a minor thing that if that's really affecting your enjoyment of the game, then you probably shouldn't have bought it anyways.
Exactly
that. If something as small as that can hinder your ability to play the whole game, then games are not for you.
Yeah. No, and it's very true.
I hate to say it, but
it's very true.
It's like being a movie person, and a movie that is like perfection, but the first 10 minutes of the movie are bad, and everybody says that, but because those first 10 minutes were bad, you hate the movie. You shouldn't be watching movies.
No.
Like, it's the same kind of thing. It's the gaming equivalent, I feel.
Yeah.
Not all game intros are fantastic. Some games have incredibly boring intros, but when you really get into them, they are fantastic games.
Yes, and that's exactly what this is. Just despite that bit, and you know, there are some really awesome dialogue options that happen because of your background, but despite that, once the game is set in Night City and you are experiencing a new kind of Night City, regardless of whereabouts you're at, and what background you choose, you know, you're always going into that.
You know, I just thought of a perfect example. Can you imagine someone telling you they hate Skyrim for one sole reason?
Yeah.
Because the carriage ride at the beginning is just too annoying.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Everybody hates that carriage ride. The first time you play it, it's kind of interesting. Every other time you ever play it, nine times out of 10, like people mod the alternate start, use the mod alternate starts, so they don't have to deal with the carriage ride.
Yeah.
But can you imagine someone genuinely disliking the game and not playing it solely because of the carriage ride?
It would be ridiculous.
That's what it feels like if your opinions on the backstories completely hinder your opinion of
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
Yep. No, I completely agree. Completely agree. And let's face it, we've all seen that pissing carriage ride opening scene probably at least 10 times.
I brought it into a D&D session.
I know you did. I love that story so
and I am
much.
so proud of it because they did not see it coming. I had Lychee here wake up. I had Lychee here appear to wake up in the back of his carriage, and it was the Skyrim opening, and then he woke up from a nightmare and screaming, "No, Todd, no!"
Excellent. Right, is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about regarding Cyberpunk in any way?
I don't think so.
Not really.
No. Okay.
No.
Well, I think then, guys, that's it. You know, I think the key points to go from here is we're excited because of the Game Awards stuff. The initiative has taken the initiative, and it's absolutely brilliant, and we're loving it. Mass Effect, yes, please. Let's go back to Shep in the real world. Fuck you, Andromeda. And Cyberpunk, yes, it is a buggy mess, but fuck me, it's good.
I mean,
and that's it.
That about sums it up. Why do we even do this podcast? Why didn't you just put out a 16-second video?
I should have just tweeted.
Yeah,
I should have just tweeted.
You should have just tweeted that, because that just summed up basically the whole fucking podcast.
Pretty much. But
who the fuck listens to us for an hour to get that amount of information?
Maybe I should edit it and put that at the start.
I mean, yeah, you need to start summarizing every podcast, and that needs to be the intro to the podcast.
And 101 updates coming out for 30 million different games. And there we go. That's it. Summarized in all of 20 seconds. But yes, guys, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. This will be up soon, up on YouTube, and also in the usual places where the podcast can be found, such as Spotify. So by all means, please go rewatch it there. Listen to it if you're out and about, which you shouldn't be because, you know, COVID, naughty green person. And then all in all, thanks everybody for watching for now. I will bid you all good nights. Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.